Hi everyone, welcome back. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Harvey. When I got a text from my girlfriend telling me she'd found someone better than me, I wouldn't pretend it didn't hit hard. My world cracked open in a single moment. But what I did in the next 48 hours shocked her so much that her lawyer reached out to me. She never expected how low I was willing to go. And honestly, I didn't care about looking petty. She made it clear she already upgraded. So I had nothing left to protect. Taylor and I had been together for 2 years when she sent that text. There was no conversation or explanation before that. Just a message saying she'd found someone better and that she no longer wanted anything to do with me. I had spent those 2 years with her, believing we were building something real. 2 years supporting her career plans, helping her financially when she needed it, being the stable part of her life she claimed she appreciated. And apparently, all of that meant so little to her that she could throw it away with one careless text the moment she thought a better option showed up. We met when I was 27 and she was 26, both of us living in Atlanta and trying to build our futures. I worked at a financial services company, a steady corporate job with good pay and solid benefits. Taylor worked in retail management, but she often talked about starting her own business. We met at a mutual friend's game night and connected quickly. We talked about work, ambition, and long-term goals. Within a few weeks, we were dating. The relationship grew naturally as we spent more time together and felt closer emotionally. Taylor was ambitious. She spoke nonstop about her business ideas, the boutique she wanted to open, the brand she wanted to sell, the type of store she imagined running. She didn't want to work for someone else forever. She wanted something of her own. I respected that. Her drive and confidence were part of what attracted me. I liked that she had direction and big plans. I wanted to support her, and I saw us as two people who could build something together, even if the business would mainly be hers. At first, the relationship was solid. We saw each other several times a week, texted throughout the day, and talked on the phone at night. Everything felt normal and healthy for two people building a genuine connection. It didn't take long for Taylor's financial problems to surface. Her credit score was terrible due to mistakes she made in her early 20s. She had defaulted on a credit card and had an unpaid student loan hanging over her. Her credit was so damaged that she couldn't qualify for financing or get a credit card on her own. This caused real, everyday issues. She struggled with things most adults take for granted. She couldn't get approved for an apartment without a co-signer. She couldn't access credit to pursue her business ideas. She was basically shut out of the financial systems most people rely on to function. As our relationship grew and I wanted to support her, I added her as a supplementary cardholder on my credit card. It gave her access to credit for regular expenses and emergencies. It allowed her to live without the constant anxiety that came from being blocked at every turn by her poor credit history. I understood that this was a serious commitment. I was trusting her with my credit. I was making myself financially exposed to her decisions. But I believed she deserved support, and I thought we were building a partnership where helping each other was the right thing to do. She used the card regularly. Gas, groceries, business supplies for the boutique she wanted to start, and travel expenses for trips we took. She typically charged a few $100s a month, nothing unreasonable given my income and nothing that concerned me at the time. As Taylor became more focused on launching her business, she realized she needed serious funding. She needed capital for inventory, a security deposit for a retail space, and money to cover her first few months of operating costs. Altogether, she was looking at a personal business loan of about $30,000. But her credit score made that impossible on her own. Any application she submitted was rejected immediately. Banks didn't even consider her because of her credit history. To move forward, she needed a co-signer, someone with strong credit who could guarantee the loan. She asked me. She said she couldn't start the business without this financing, and that this boutique was her dream. She needed someone who believed in her enough to help her make it happen. I knew precisely what co-signing meant. If she missed payments, the debt would become mine. If the business failed, I would be legally and financially responsible. It was a significant commitment, far beyond normal relationship support. But I believed in her potential, and I saw helping her launch the business as an investment in that future. So I agreed to co-sign. We started the application process. I submitted all my financial documents and the bank approved the loan, but only because of my co-signature. We were just a few days away from finalizing everything when the relationship collapsed. The signs of our relationship breaking down appeared slowly at first. Taylor became harder to reach. She took hours, sometimes days, to respond to my texts. She let my calls go to voicemail. Her explanation was always the same. She was too busy to communicate normally. But her behavior didn't match her excuses. She claimed she was overwhelmed, yet her Instagram stories showed her out with friends, concerts, restaurants, events she never once mentioned to me. She had the time and energy for her social life, just not for us. She would answer comments on her social media posts within minutes, but leave my messages on read for the entire day. The selective availability wasn't subtle. It was deliberate, and it stung. She also began canceling plans at the last minute. She would agree to meet for dinner, then text an hour beforehand to say she was too tired. She would say she'd come over after work, then simply never show up. The excuses were weak. Something came up, I fell asleep, and they came without apology or explanation. Other times, there were no excuses at all. She just wouldn't show up. If I asked what happened, she would go silent. I became confused and worried because nothing added up. I tried to check in gently whenever she gives me an audience. I asked if she was okay, if she needed support, and if she wanted to talk about whatever she was dealing with. I approached her with care, not confrontation. She gave vague, empty answers. She insisted everything was fine. She said she was just busy. She told me I was being demanding. She turned my concern into a problem with me instead of addressing her behavior. After several weeks of the same pattern, I finally decided to confront it directly. She had canceled another plan, saying she was exhausted. But that same night, I saw her Instagram story. She was out earlier that day with her friends. The next day, I sent her a text. I kept it straightforward, telling her I felt ignored and disrespected. I pointed out that her actions didn't match her excuses. I mentioned seeing her active on social media, yet she claimed she was too busy or too tired for our relationship. I said I deserved honest communication. I expected some kind of reaction, maybe defensiveness, an apology, or an explanation about what was actually going on. At the very least, I expected a real conversation about the problems between us. What I got instead was a cold, final message. It was a blunt rejection. According to her text, I found someone better than you. I don't want to be associated with you anymore. I read the message several times, trying to process it. 2 years of a relationship thrown away in one sentence about finding someone better. I felt a mix of shock, anger, and a strange sense of clarity all at once. Yes, I was hurt, but I also knew instantly what needed to happen next. I didn't argue or ask questions. I didn't try to fix anything. I simply replied, I agree. What I meant was simple. I agreed the relationship was over. If she believed she had found someone better, then she should go. I wasn't going to beg, negotiate, or create drama. But I also knew, with complete certainty, that all financial support ended right there. Taylor didn't get to walk away from a relationship while still keeping access to my money, my credit, or the lifestyle I helped pay for. That evening, I started making calls and sending emails to shut everything down. I called my credit card company and canceled the supplementary card I had given Taylor. I told them the authorized user was no longer permitted and that the card needed to be deactivated immediately. After the call, I logged into my online banking to confirm the cancellation. Within a few hours, the card showed as inactive. Any charge she tried to make would be declined on the spot. Next, I contacted the bank handling her business loan application. I informed them that I was withdrawing as the co-signer and no longer wished to guarantee the loan. I asked them to cancel the application completely. 2 days later, the bank confirmed what I already expected. Without my co-signature, the loan couldn't move forward. Taylor's credit wasn't strong enough to qualify on its own. The entire loan approval collapsed the moment my name came off the paperwork. For me, the relationship was finished. And when the relationship ended, so did every financial obligation tied to it. Cause and effect. Simple. I assumed the bank's denial triggered everything else on Taylor's end. She started sending messages that were nothing like her cold goodbye. The bank had informed her that the loan was no longer viable without a co-signer, that her credit alone wasn't sufficient, and that she needed another form of financing or she'd have to cancel her business plans entirely. Apparently, she had already made commitments to suppliers and landlords, expecting that the loan money to come through. She had promised deposits and payments she now couldn't make. Without financing, her entire business launch collapsed overnight. Then the frantic messages began. She said I couldn't cancel things without warning. She accused me of sabotaging her business, called it unfair and vindictive, and insisted that I reinstate all financial support immediately. I didn't reply. I had already said everything that needed to be said. She ended the relationship. Everything attached to it ended as well. There was nothing left to discuss. Within a week, her lawyer contacted me. I received an aggressive email accusing me of destroying Taylor's business prospects. They demanded that I restore her credit card access and re-sign the loan. They threatened legal action if I refused. The email tried to paint me as a vindictive ex who was intentionally hurting her career. They tried to build a story where I somehow owed her continued financial support, even after she ended the relationship. I didn't answer her lawyer myself. I forwarded every message to my attorney so there would be no mistakes and no loopholes they could use against me. My attorney sent a professional, straightforward reply to Taylor's lawyer. He stated clearly that I had no legal obligation to provide financial support to an ex-girlfriend. Every form of support I had given in the past had been voluntary, and I had the right to stop at any time. There was no contract, no agreement, nothing that tied me to her financially or gave her any right to my credit. He also pointed out that co-signing a loan is a significant responsibility, and I was fully within my rights to reconsider before signing anything. No reasonable adult would expect someone to co-sign a large debt for a woman who had already ended the relationship. He added a warning. If the harassment continued, we would document everything and consider filing for a restraining order. It was a clear reminder that I was taking the situation seriously and would not be intimidated. Taylor's lawyer sent one more email. This time, they tried to argue that I had made commitments that I needed to honor. They claimed she had made business decisions based on the expectation of my financial backing, and that pulling away had caused damages I should be responsible for. My attorney shut that down immediately. He explained that any decisions Taylor made on the assumption that her boyfriend would indefinitely support her were her own risk. Relationships end. Adults are responsible for their own finances. If she wanted guaranteed funding, she should have gotten proper business contracts, not relied on a dating relationship as her financial plan. Apparently, they consulted with other lawyers after that, because the tone shifted. I received a notice saying Taylor was considering taking me to court, clearly an attempt to scare me into resuming support rather than an actual belief they had a case. My attorney wasn't worried. He told me plainly that they had no legal foundation. Without marriage or a signed contract, I had zero obligation to her. Any judge would dismiss it immediately. They did file a petition, but my attorney handled every step. He went to the preliminary hearing, and the judge dismissed the case right away. The judge even told Taylor's lawyer they were wasting court time and that disappointment from a breakup was not a legal basis for financial claims. I never had to appear. I never had to speak. My attorney dealt with everything. It cost me a few thousand in legal fees, but it protected me completely. Taylor tried to reach me through mutual friends. She sent messages saying she was desperate, that her plans had collapsed, that she needed help. She insisted I couldn't possibly want to watch her fail after everything we had been through. I told my friends not to pass along anything from her. I made it clear I had no interest in any communication. The relationship ended because of her choices, and I had already moved on completely. From what I heard, her finances declined fast. She lost the retail space she had planned to lease because she couldn't pay the deposit. She lost supplier deals because she couldn't afford the initial inventory. Her entire business launch collapsed without the funding she had counted on from me. I also heard that the someone better she left me for didn't work out. The relationship ended within months. She had jumped to a new man, thinking he was an upgrade, only to discover he wasn't. Once he learned about her personal baggage and financial expectations, he decided it wasn't what he had signed up for. The irony was clean and almost poetic. Taylor had tossed me aside as if her new option would give her everything I already provided, plus whatever extra qualities she thought she wanted. But within months, she realized her supposed upgrade was actually a downgrade in every way that mattered to her stability and her plans. The new man had financial stability, yes, but not the willingness to support her business dreams the way I had. She traded a partner who was genuinely invested in her success for someone who only cared about the surface-level relationship, not the long-term commitment or support. By the time she understood her mistake and tried reaching me through every possible channel, I was long gone, emotionally and practically. I had processed the betrayal, protected myself legally and financially, and closed that chapter completely. Some mutual friends tried to speak on her behalf. They said she had made a mistake and deserved a second chance. They argued that her business dreams were essential and that I could help her if I decided to be generous. They hinted that I was holding a grudge and stopping her from moving forward with her life. But they completely missed the point. This wasn't about revenge, bitterness, or punishing her. It was about understanding what her actions revealed. Anyone who could discard me so easily, while I was still supporting her and helping her pursue her ambitions, was showing me exactly how she viewed me and the relationship. She saw me as a financial tool, not as a partner. The moment she believed she had found someone better to fund her dreams, she dropped me without hesitation, without gratitude, without a second thought. That wasn't a minor mistake. It wasn't bad judgment. It was a clear look at her real priorities and values. Going back to support her after seeing that truth would have meant accepting that role permanently. It would have sent her the message that she could treat me as disposable, and I would still come running whenever she needed money. It would have taught her that relationships could be purely transactional and that I would tolerate being used. There are several lessons I took from this experience, lessons anyone in a relationship should understand. I learned that financial support ends when the relationship ends. Continuing to give an ex access to credit or co-signing loans is unreasonable. The idea that I should keep supporting her after the breakup was absurd. Protecting myself financially wasn't harsh. It was the obvious, responsible choice. I learned that some people treat relationships like transactions. Taylor valued the financial benefits I provided more than she valued me as a person. The moment she believed she'd found someone better, she threw me aside without hesitation. She only realized the worth of what she'd lost when the benefits disappeared. I learned that threats of legal action are often just attempts to scare you. Taylor's lawyer's attempt to paint my financial boundaries as harmful was laughable. Standing firm and having proper legal advice shielded me completely from their empty accusations. I learned that harsh breakups bring clarity. Her cold, dismissive text message removed all doubt. I didn't have to debate whether to save the relationship or worry that I was giving up too quickly. She made the ending obvious. But the most important lesson was this: acting immediately protects you better than thinking endlessly. Canceling the credit card and removing myself from the loan within hours stopped her from continuing to use my financial resources during the breakup. Quick, decisive action prevented the much bigger problems that would have come if she had time to rack up debt in my name. I'm at peace with every decision I made. I know I did what had to be done. I know I protected myself the right way. And I know I don't owe Taylor anything. I'm in a different place now, much more careful about mixing finances with relationships. I will never again hand out a supplementary credit card, co-sign a loan, or take on financial risk for a romantic partner, no matter how stable the relationship appears. If money is ever involved again, it will be through clear legal agreements, not blind trust. I haven't heard from Taylor in over a year. I assume she's managing somehow. I don't know if she ever started the business she talked about or if she dropped the idea completely. And honestly, it doesn't matter. She's fully out of my life. I deserved a partner who valued me for who I am, not for my income or how much credit I could give her. Taylor wasn't that person. So I cut myself off, ended every form of support, and walked away. That's the story. That's how I protected myself. That's how I left cleanly from someone who thought she could do better, until she realized she couldn't.